Hey y'all, Steve here. Hey, today I want to show you how I edit footage from my new Sony HDR AS100VR action camera. That's a new camera that Sony just released to compete with the GoPros. Well, I like this camera a lot, and I've had a little chance to get out and start getting some footage with it. So today I want to show you some of the editing that I do in Final Cut Pro 10, and I'm talking about how to sharpen my footage and also colorize my footage so I can deliver a better looking video to places where I upload, like YouTube. So what you're looking at here on the screen right now is a very short clip of me recently out in my kayak. It's about 11 or 12 seconds long, but just looking at the clip right there, there's nothing special or great about it. Let's just run through it so you can see what the clip looks like. Alright, now I want to make this clip look better. I want to sharpen it, bring it into focus a little better, maybe bring out some colors. So I'm going to do a few things to this clip, and you guys can join along with me. And whatever editor that you're using, you know, chances are the features are going to be similar in your video editor as they are in mine. Now I will say this, when I shoot video, I like to shoot video in a neutral, flat type mode. And on the Sony Action Cam, they have two settings. I can either shoot my videos in vivid color, which it will do all the in-camera coloring and make the colors pop, or it will shoot in a neutral and try to give me more natural colors. I always shoot in neutral so I can go through and manipulate the coloring myself. So let's see what I will do to this particular clip to try and make it look better. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this clip. I'm going to press my mouse, the Option key, and I am going to duplicate. So now I've got the same clip twice. I'm going to leave this first clip as it is, and I'm going to work on this second clip. The first thing that I always do is I come up here and I want to look at my video scopes. Now right here I'm looking at my Luma scope, and it's showing me what is basically bright and dark in my video. Now I always use my scopes. If you don't use scopes, that's okay. A lot of people just eyeball it, but I always like to look at my scopes. I can tell you this, if you ever start using your scopes, you will never return to just eyeballing it. So I've got my scope open, I've got my clip selected, it's highlighted in yellow. Let me just place my marker right there and just hold it. Now that I've got my Luma scope here, I'm going to go to my color correction, and as you see up here I have three selections. I have color, saturation, and exposure. So the first one I'm going to go to is my exposure. Now I have four settings inside exposure. I have a global, shadows, midtones, and highlights. So what I'm going to do is where I always start is I go to my shadows. I click this little puck, I pull it down, and if you will watch the scope, you can see the heavy part of that waveform start approaching the zero on the graph. Now what I'm going to do, and look at the video, watch how the video gets dark. What I'm doing is what a lot of people call crushing the blacks. Everything black in my video, I want it to be black. I don't want it to be gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down, and as you can see right in this area right here, I'm starting to reach the zero. I don't like to bring that below the zero because you can see what it does to the video. It makes it virtually unwatchable. So I'm going to pull it down. When that starts touching the zero, I'm going to let it go. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my highlights. Now if I move my highlights to the top, everything gets lighter. If I pull my highlights down, everything gets darker. This midpoint is where it sits originally, and I can adjust. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push my highlights up towards a brighter area and towards the 100 on the graph. So I can see right there I'm hitting it pretty well. It's pretty balanced. I'm going to leave it right there. The next thing that I do is I go over here and I grab my midtones. Here's where I eyeball it. Now I'm going to look at my video. I'm going to push it up. No, I don't like that. I'm going to pull it down. No, I really don't like that. I look for something that's pleasing to my eye, and that's where I adjust to. So right in that, I've pulled it just under the halfway point. I'm at -7%. I like that. That looks good to me visually. I'm going to leave it there. All right, let's go back. We've got more to go, but let's go back and let's see how we're looking. So I'm going to come out of the color adjustment. I'm going to hide my video scope. Now there's my original clip right there. There are the corrections on that clip that I've already made. Let's show a before and after. That's where I started. That's where I'm at now. You can see the colors are starting to pop. Everything's a little more crisp. There's more contrast. My blacks are black. There's before. Kind of hazy looking. There's after. So already, if I don't do anything else to this clip, we're looking pretty good. But we're not finished. We're going to go in and make a few more adjustments. So let's go back to our color corrector. Okay, we're back in our color corrector now, and I am in the saturation mode. In the saturation mode, you also have 4 settings. You have global, shadows, midtones, and highlights. I have found that there are 2 main parts to this one. I like to adjust the global, and I also like to adjust the midtones. I find that that works well for me. So what I'm going to do here is I like to push up my global to around 30% and take a look. Now I don't use the scope on this one. I eyeball this pretty much to see what looks good to me. That's looking pretty good, and what I do, just as a rule of thumb for virtually every video that I edit, is I'll go 20 or 30% on global, and then I will push up the midtones half of that value. So I'm going to push up the midtones to 15%. So now let's go back and look at this video before and after. Let's see how we're looking. As you're looking at it now is what we have done, what we brought this video clip to. Let's go back to where we started. As you can see, there's been a huge improvement, and I have not done that much work to this clip, but look what it's done. Pretty amazing, isn't it? All right, let's take it another step further. Let's go down here to our color effects and our color correction. I'm going to add a new color correction. As you can see, I have color correction 2. We're going to see if we can highlight some individual colors on this clip and make them pop a little more. So I'm going to take my little eyedropper here. I'm going to go over, I'm going to find me some green. So I'm going to put my little eyedropper on green. I'm going to press my mouse, and I'm just going to pull just a little bit back. And if you'll notice, everything green is starting to highlight. The other colors are marked in gray, but you can see a lot of the green as I widen that circle and capture a larger area. You can see the greens because I told that dropper to identify the greens in this video. So I'm going to let go, and I'm going to go to the color correction bar, and now I'm going to stay on saturation. Now everything green was highlighted. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push up the saturation, which should make the greens in this video start popping. So I'm going to start pushing the global up. You really, you can leave it to your own imagination and your own eyeballs and what suits you the most if you want to adjust the shadows, midtones, or highlights. But I find a lot of times if I just go global, it really will catch these colors perfectly. All right, let's go back and see where we started and where we are now. So you're looking at the clip. It's where we are now. It's what we've built. Let's go to the before. Wow. You can't hardly even look at that first clip now, can we? Here's where we are. Here's where we started. Here's where we are now. A massive, massive improvement. Clip really looks good now. By shooting in neutral on this Sony HDR AS100VR camera, it's allowing me to go in there and set parameters that I like based on what I see and what I want to deliver to the internet. All right, let's take it even further now, folks. Now, like I said, I'm in Final Cut Pro 10. You may use a different editor, and I'm sure your editor has very similar features. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to add a new color correction. I'm going to click this plus button right here, add a correction. Now I have color correction 3. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab this eyedropper. I'm going to go over here. I want to make my skies just a little bit bluer, so I'm going to pull my marker into the sky, press my mouse, and I'm going to pull back just a little bit. As you can see, that circle is starting. Now I can go too much, but what I want to do is I want to highlight. I only want to pull it back enough to where it's highlighting the blue in the sky, and I'm going to let go. So now I'm going to take this adjustment slider, and the further I push it to the right, the softer it will feather the edges of my color correction. So now I'm going to go to the color correction. I'm still in saturation. I'm going to the global, just like we've done on the others. This is really easy to do. Now I'm just going to push this up a little bit. I'm going to increase the percentage. And look at that sky. Look what it's doing to the sky. Let's jack it all the way up. See, that's a little too blue, a little too fake. So I'm going to pull it down. There's where we start. I'm going to pull it up about halfway to around 50% and let it go. Now that clip's really looking nice. Let's go back and look at the before and after again. So here's where we built to. Here's the before. Here's where we started. Here's where we are now. Huge, huge difference, wouldn't you say so? Now that clip looks nice. Let's play a little bit of it. That's what we built. Let's go back and play some of the clip that we haven't done anything to. Here's where we are now. You know, as you followed along, I hope you can see that these are really simple edits. These are not some type of pro-level skill that you have to develop and work on for years. These are very easy edits that anybody can make. All right, I think I'm pretty good on my color. I think I'm pretty good on everything. There's one final thing that I'm going to do to this clip, and Final Cut has what you call a sharpen effect. It's in the video effects and it's appropriately named Sharpen. So I'm going to take this sharpen effect, drop it right on top of the clip. Once you drop it on the clip, it's going to give you a slider where you can adjust the amount of sharpening to that clip. You can have 0 with no, or you could really start pushing it up. Look what it's doing as I'm pushing that slider up towards 100. It's really giving it kind of a cool looking effect if you want to leave it that way. However, I don't want 100 on my slider. I'm literally going to put it at about 5. So I'm going to hit 5, enter. Now let's take a look at what the sharpen effect did. Let's take it off. You see how soft the image becomes? Now I'm going to apply it with a very small setting of 5. Look how it set the lines are more crisp. Just a really cool clip that jumps out at you. And it was a simple sharpen effect. Before, a little bit soft, still a great picture, but it's a little bit soft. Now look at it, just a really nice clip. If I'm working on this and not talking like I've done, this just takes a matter of seconds, and I do this pretty much for all of my clips, and it produces much better video in my opinion. So let's go back and look at a little piece of the clip before we started. Now here's where we are now. This is what we built to. Look at the dramatic difference. Only takes a few minutes, folks, just to work on your clips, make them a little more appealing. It's very easy. Find these features in your editor if you are not in Final Cut Pro 10. I hope this has helped. This is how I edit my clips from my new camera, the Sony HDR AS100VR. I hope this has been helpful to you guys. I will see all of you in my next video.